You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to the Black Man with the Gun Show. This week I want to have a little fun. Since it's the Halloween weekend, how about we use the theater of the mind? The zombie apocalypse is real. I'm going to invite you to attend a class that I'll be hosting. Are you ready?
BlackManWithAGun.com, Ken Blanchard's Pro Gun Podcast.
Back in the day, I had a good friend of mine, Derek Ward, who wrote a script for me that I read, and he actually helped me fulfill a dream to be a narrator, which is, I'm working on that in 2021 to do voiceover for real. But if you're not into zombies, then you can just bypass this whole episode, because now we're going to use the theater of the mind. We're going to pretend this week, celebrating Halloween and all things that bump in the night, that the zombie apocalypse is real.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test.
Government officials insist that this...
The Center for Disease Control has reported an outbreak of a new
Avoid
virus
contact with the
that
infected.
regenerates dead tissue, prolonging life after clinical
If
death.
evacuation is impossible, move indoors.
Stay in your homes and lock all doors, block all windows, and barricade any point of entry.
Stove to heat your home. This can cause a fire or fatal gas.
And for the sake of all of this is for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment purposes only. Come on in, class. Come on in. Grab a seat. Don't sit in the back. You want to make sure you get all the notes. Sit up front if you can. Make sure that you can see and hear everything that I'm saying. This class will save your life. We're talking about survival during the zombie apocalypse, and I am your instructor, Ken Blanchard. And before we begin, got a little housekeeping. We're not going to be talking about what a zombie is, how they were created, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what are their needs, their desires, and why are they hostile to humanity. But we are discussing some survival techniques and the weapons that you can use, both improvised and created, to save yourself from a hostile situation. I know this is an odd class, but this is an odd time. And if you're ready, let's begin. Choosing the right weapons, never carry just one, can make the difference between a pile of dead zombies and becoming one yourself. Are you hearing me? All right. When confronted with the undead, it is easy to believe in the super commando strategy to load up with the heaviest, most powerful weapons possible and then go out and kick ass. But this is not only foolish, it's suicidal. Zombies are not camp guards in some POW camp waiting for their first theatrical volley. Arming yourselves for a zombie encounter requires careful consideration, a cool head, and practical analysis of all the factors that are involved. Number 1, obey the law. Regulations concerning weapons such as firearms and explosives depend on your location. Follow them to the letter. Punishment may range from a fine to incarceration. In any case, the resulting criminal record is something you cannot afford. When the dead rise, law enforcement must look upon you as a model citizen, someone to be trusted and left alone, not a felon of questionable background who should be interrogated at the first sign of trouble. Are you hearing me? Number 2, I need you to train constantly, no matter what weapons you choose. From a simple machete to a semi-automatic rifle, it must be an extension of your body. Practice as often as possible. If classes are available, by all means, sign up. Learn from qualified instructors will save immense time and energy. Come on in. I see that you're late. Just find a seat. Don't make that much noise. Settled? Good. If a device can be disassembled, do so, both in sunlight and total darkness, until you know every pin, every spring, every curve, and every edge of that all-important machine. With practice will come both experience and confidence. There's 2 traits that you must develop in order to successfully do battle with the living dead. History has proven that a well-trained individual with nothing but a rock has a better chance of survival than a newbie with the latest technical marvel. Rule number 3, my friends, care for your tools. Weapons, no matter how simple they may be, must be cared for as if they are living things. Anyone with firearms experience knows that inspection and cleaning are part of everyday use. This also applies to close combat weapons. Blades need polish and rust protection. Grips need checking and maintenance. Never abuse your tools or expose them to unnecessary damage. Now, if possible, have them tested regularly by experienced professionals. These experts may detect early-stage defects that you can't see. Number 4, beware of display items. A lot of companies offer a variety of replica weapons such as swords, bows, etc. that are meant merely for decoration. Always research your chosen item thoroughly and ensure that it is intended for actual use in the real world. Do not rely solely on the company's word. Battle ready may mean the item could withstand a few blows on the stage or at some historical fair, but it will snap in half during a life or death confrontation. If resources permit, purchase a duplicate item and train with it to the breaking point. Only then should you trust in your abilities. This is particularly important if you buy a holster. It might look good, it might be cheap, but you want to test it out during a training situation so that you can stress it out and see the high points and low points. Rule number 5, develop your primary weapon, which is the human body. If cared for and trained properly, it is the greatest weapon on earth. We are notorious for having bad diets, lack of exercise, and a relentless fetish for labor-saving devices. Have you heard the word couch potato? A more accurate term could be cattle, fat, lazy, listless, and ready to be eaten. Weapon number 1, the biological tool that is our body, can and must be transformed from prey to predator. How about obeying a strict diet and a physical fitness regimen? Concentrate on cardiovascular instead of strength-building exercises. Monitor any chronic health conditions that you can have, no matter how small. Even if your worst ailment is allergies, treat them regularly. When a situation does arise, you must know exactly what your body is capable of. Study and master at least one martial art. Make sure its emphasis is on escaping holds rather than delivering blows. Knowing how to slip from a zombie's clutches is the single most important skill you can possess when you find yourself in close combat, which is our topic next. Are there any questions before I go on? Now, we're talking zombies here, but so hand-to-hand combat should always be avoided. Given a zombie's lack of speed, it is much easier to run or walk quickly than stand and fight. However, it may be necessary to destroy a zombie at close quarters. When this happens, split-second timing is critical. A wrong move, a moment's hesitation, and you may feel cold hands gripping your arm or sharp, broken teeth biting into your flesh. For this reason, above all, choosing a close combat weapon is more important than anything else that I'm going to tell you. First on the list is bludgeons. When using a blunt weapon, the goal is to crush the brain. Remember, the only way to kill a zombie is by destroying its brain. This is not as easy as it sounds. The human skull is one of the hardest, most durable surfaces in nature. So, of course, is the zombies. Extreme force is needed to fracture, let alone shatter it. This must be done and done with a single, well-placed blow. Missing your target or failing to breach the bone will leave you with no second chance. Sticks, axe handles, and other wooden clubs are good for knocking a zombie out of the way or beating off an individual attack. What they lack is the weight and strength necessary for a lethal strike. A section of lead pipe will work for a single encounter, but is too heavy for those on the move. A sledgehammer has the same drawback and also requires practice for its user to hit a moving target. Now, aluminum bats are light enough to work for 1, maybe 2 fights, but are known to bend after prolonged use. The standard one-handed carpenter's hammer has striking power but severely limited reach. Its short handle allows a zombie to grab your arm and pull it in. A police baton, made of acetate plastic in some cases, is strong enough for any battle, but lacks the lethal power for a one-blow kill. This was its intended design, by the way. Believe it or not, the best bludgeon is a steel crowbar. Its relatively lightweight and durable construction makes it ideal for prolonged close combat. Its curved, semi-sharp edge also allows for a stabbing motion through the eye socket directly into the brain case. More than one survivor has reported killing zombies in this manner. Another benefit of the crowbar is that it may be necessary to pry open a door, shift a heavy object, or perform some other task than it was originally designed for. And none of these functions can be accomplished with any of the previously mentioned items. Even lighter and more durable than the steel crowbar is the titanium model. You can find that probably online now if you get it before the rush. Number 2, edged weapons. Blades in any form have advantages and disadvantages over bludgeon weapons. Those that have enough strength to split the skull rarely stand up after many repetitions. For this reason, slicing, particularly decapitation, serves almost the same function as a head blow. Now, please note, the severed head of a zombie is still able to bite and must be regarded as a threat. The advantage of slicing over bludgeoning is that it can make killing a zombie unnecessary. In some cases, simply chopping off a limb or severing that spine is enough to disable an undead assailant. Severing a limb also brings the possibility of contact with the virus through the exposed areas. Just want you to know that. Now, the civilian axe can easily crush a zombie's skull, smashing through bone and brain in one swing. Decapitation is equally easy, which is why the axe has been a favorite tool of executioners for centuries. Connecting with a head, a moving head, might be a little difficult though. Furthermore, if the swing ends in a total miss, it might take you off balance and make you at risk. The smaller one-handed hatchet is a good weapon of last resort. If you find yourself cornered, the larger weapons are useless. A hatchet blow will more than likely take care of the attack. Get a little exotic here, but the sword is an ideal edged weapon, but not every kind will suffice. There's foils and rapiers and fencing weapons that are not suitable for slicing. Their only possible use would be a direct stab through the eye socket, followed by a quick swirling action through the brain. And if you can do all that, your talents are wasted. So unless you are a trained swordsman, I wouldn't recommend that. Single-handed long swords, though, allow you a free hand for other tasks, like opening a door or defending your body with a shield. The only drawback is the lack of swinging power. One arm may not have enough strength to slice through the thick cartilage between bones. Another drawback is the user's notorious lack of accuracy. Scoring a flesh wound anywhere on the body of a living opponent is one thing. Making an exact clean chop through the neck is something else altogether. Double-handed swords could be considered the best of their class, providing the strength and accuracy for perfect decapitation, like the Japanese samurai katana. That's like number one right now. It weighs between 3 and 5 pounds. It's perfect for long-term conflicts, and the blade can sever the toughest organic fiber. It's been proven. In tight quarters, shorter blades hold the advantage. The Roman gladius, for example, is a choice, although combat-ready replicas are hard to find. Those Japanese ninja-like swords with the two-handed grip, not too bad. Both factors make it a good weapon. The common machete, because of its size, weight, and availability, is probably your best choice. If possible, find a military-type grade at an old army supply store. Its steel tends to be of a higher quality, and its blackened blade helps concealment at night. Now, there's a whole bunch of medieval hand weapons, spears, spikes, tridents that you can use, halberds, kind of like a axe spear hybrid. But if you got to stick to just normal stuff, knives are always useful. Are we tracking, or you need to take a break before I go any further? We okay? All right, good. See, unlike a hatchet, they can kill a zombie only when the blade is stabbed through the temple, eye socket, or base of the skull. On the flip side, knives almost always weigh less than hatchets and therefore are better if you're on the move. Now, when choosing a knife, make sure the blade is no more than 6 inches long, always smooth. Avoid those serrated knives and those saw blade combinations found in survival stores and knives. They tend to get lodged in the victim. Imagine yourself stabbing one zombie through the temple and turning to engage the other 3 ghouls and not being able to take the knife out of the eye socket. That's what happens. Now, if you can find it, look for a trench spike. Without a doubt, it's the best compact anti-zombie weapon on earth. It's a combination of a 7-inch steel spike for a blade and brass knuckles for a handle. It was developed during the vicious hand-to-hand combat of World War I, where soldiers killed each other in trenches no wider than a few feet. Specifically, it was designed to stab downward through an enemy's steel helmet. You can imagine how effective this weapon would be against a zombie. The user could stab easily through a zombie's skull, withdraw cleanly and quickly, and then turn to either brain another zombie or, at the very least, knock one over with the brass knuckles punch to the face. Original models are extremely rare, but if you can find something from a private collection, not those ones that are made for, nostalgic purposes only, you want the real deal so it doesn't break off, it'll be a good investment. Now, if we had time, I'd go into some slings and arrows. The sling, like David and Goliath's story, the slingshot, the blowgun, the shurikens, the feudal Japan used throwing knives from all the ninja movies, the long or the compound bow, but they take a little bit more practice. So let's go straight to firearms. Why not? Of all the weapons discussed already, nothing is more important than your primary firearm. You need to keep it clean, to keep it oiled, to keep it loaded, keep it close, with a cool head steady hand, and plenty of ammunition, which may be hard to find in the apocalypse, one person is more than a match for an army of zombies. Choosing the right firearm must be an exact science with every variable considered. What's your goal? Defense, attack, or flight? How many folks are you defending against? One, a mob, what? What environment is your battleground? Different firearms serve different functions. Almost none serve all. Selecting the perfect tool means dispelling conventional doctrines of warfare that have worked so well against other people, but don't work too well when killing zombies. That's a whole nother story. The first thing I want to start with this week is the bolt action or the lever action rifle. A product of the mid-19th century, these weapons are often regarded as obsolete by some folks. Why use a hunting rifle when you can own a submachine gun? Well, such arrogance is simply unfounded. Its roots based in techno-chauvinism and the absence of practical experience. A well-made, expertly used bolt or lever action rifle offers a defense against the living dead that is as good, if not better, than some of the latest military hardware. A rifle's single-shot capability forces the user to make each round count, increasing the chance of a hit. This feature also eliminates the possibility of rock and rolling, and therefore preserving ammunition, whether the user intends to or not. A third reason is that it's relatively easy to clean and operate a rifle, something that must not be overlooked. Hunting rifles are designed for the civilian market. Manufacturers know that if they're not too complex, sales will plummet. A fourth and final reason is readily available ammunition. If there are more civilian gun shops than military armories in the United States, you will find it easier to obtain ammunition for a hunting rifle than for a, quote, assault weapon or submachine gun. This will prove critical when stuff gets bad. When choosing a bolt or lever action rifle, try to find an older military version if possible. Does not mean that the civilian models are bad, quite the opposite, but also almost all military bolt action rifles were designed for use in hand-to-hand combat. Make sure you can take the time to study the use of a rifle for this purpose. Simply swinging it like a club would destroy any weapon, military or civilian, and you can still find manuals available to explain how to use a rifle as a bludgeon. Even old war films can demonstrate how deadly these weapons are without even using a shot. Examples of bolt-action military rifles are the U.S. Springfield, the British Lee Enfield, and the German Mauser Kar 98K. Many of these are still out there, some in good working order. But before you choose, make sure you can find an ample supply of ammo. Having an impressive bolt-action military rifle will do no good if you can't use it. The regular semi-automatic rifle, since its debut, has shown to be a superior zombie killer. Given the possibility of wasting ammunition, a round is expended every time the trigger is pulled. A fair amount of discipline is required. However, this option can be blessing more than a curse when you're engaging in multiple targets. In one recorded instance, a trapped woman dispatched 15 attacking zombies in 12 seconds. This story illustrates the potential of a semi-automatic rifle. For close combat or for people on the run, the semi-automatic carbine serves the same function as the larger model. Although possessing half the range, the carbines tend to be lighter and easier to carry and use smaller ammunition. Either type will serve you well. Any questions so far? All right. Hearing none, when choosing a semi-automatic weapon, the World War II M1 Garand or the M1 carbine are, in many ways, superior to contemporary weapons. This may be surprising, but these older military weapons are designed to survive the greatest conflict in history. Not only did they meet the task admirably, but also the Garand remains the U.S. Army's main rifle through the Korean conflict, while the carbine saw action up until the first years of Nam. Another advantage of the M1 Garand is its secondary role as a hand-to-hand weapon. In World War II, bayonet use was still considered a vital part of combat. Although no longer in production, many Garands still remain on the market with ammunition widely available. The M1 carbine is, amazingly, still in production. Its lightweight and short muzzle perfectly suits this weapon to indoor combat or long journeys on foot. Other more modern choices include the Ruger Mini 30, Ruger Mini 14, and the Chinese Type 56 is a copy of the Soviet SKSs. If discipline can be maintained, you won't find a better weapon than a semi-automatic rifle. Everybody should have one. All right, you see here on the table, the grandfather, the one everybody knows about, the shotgun. At close range against human attackers, this weapon reigns supreme. Against the living dead, not necessarily so. A good 12-gauge shotgun can literally blow a zombie's head off. However, the longer the range, the greater the pellet dispersal pattern and the lesser chance of skull penetration. A solid slug, though, would have the same effect as a rifle, even at greater range, provided that the barrel is long enough for the gases and all that. But in that case, why not just use a rifle? What shotguns do possess is stopping power. The scattering shot acts as a solid wall, whereas a rifle bullet might pass clean through or miss the target altogether. If you are cornered or on the run or need time to escape, a good shotgun blast can send several zombies sprawling. The downside of a shotgun is that the large 12-gauge shells are bulky and therefore burdensome when traveling and leave less room for other gear. And you got to consider this when you're traveling on a long journey. Let me back up here. On rimfires on 22 calibers, these weapons, rifle or pistol, fire around no wider than a few millimeters and no longer than an inch. In normal circumstances, it is usually just for practice, competition, or hunting small game. In an attack of the undead, however, these little 22 rimfire stands proudly along their heavier cousins. A small size of its rounds allows you to carry 3 times as much ammo. This also makes the weapon itself lighter, a godsend on those long treks through ghoul-infested territory. The ammunition is also easy to manufacture and plentiful throughout the country. No shop that sells any kind of ammunition would fail to stock 22 rimfire. 2 disadvantages, though. The small round has 0 stopping power. People, even famous people, have been shot by 22s and not even realized until later. A zombie taking a round to the chest would not even be slowed down, let alone stopped by this little teeny projectile. Another problem is the lack of skull penetration at longer distances. With the 22, you might have to get a little too close for comfort, a fact that may increase stress and degrade the odds of a kill. By the same token, the lack of power in a round fired by a 22 has been called a blessing in disguise. Without the force to punch through the back of a zombie's skull, 22 bullets have been known to ricochet inside the brain case, doing as much damage as a 45. So, when it comes to time to arm yourself against a looming zombie menace, do not discount the small, almost toy-like nature of this little teeny but efficient firearm. And finally, my friends, we're going to get to the pistol. You know, we have a special relationship with handguns. They seem to have been in every movie, every TV show, every pop novel, every comic book. Our heroes have always carried them, from the old West lawman to the gritty urban cop. Gangsters rap about them, liberals and conservatives fight over them, parents shelter children from them, and manufacturers make untold fortunes from them, possibly more than the automobile. The handgun is synonymous with America. But how useful is this popular icon against a swarm of newly risen flesh eaters? In truth, not very. Unlike our fictional heroes, the average person may have difficulty hitting anything, let alone something as small and mobile as a zombie's head. Throw in the obvious emotional strain of undead combat, and the possibility of a successful shot ranks one step above negotiating with your attacker. Studies have shown that of all wasted ballistic rounds, i.e. those that struck a zombie in a non-lethal way, 73% came from some type of handgun. Now, a laser sight increases the odds of accuracy, but does nothing to steady a shaky wrist. When handguns do come in handy, it is in extreme circumstances. If you're grabbed by a zombie, a pistol can be a lifesaver. Pressing its muzzle against the undead temple and squeezing the trigger takes no skill and ensures a positive kill. The fact that handguns are small, light, and easy to carry make them attractive as a secondary weapon for any scenario. If your primary weapon is a carbine, this adds the possibility of shared ammo and lighter load. Did you get that? And for these reasons, a pistol should always be carried when confronting zombies, but as a backup only. Never forget that many dismembered, half-eaten corpses have been discovered with these wonder weapons still clutched in their cold, dead hands. And you see what I did with that one? Yeah. And now, because I have a love affair with Silencer Co., if you can find one, silencers are vital attachment to your firearm. Their ability to muffle noise is huge. So make sure you get one. And now, as I close, I just want to give you a little thing about range versus accuracy. You know, studies have shown that given the trauma of battle, the closer a human is to a zombie, the wilder their shooting is going to be. So when practicing with your firearms, establish a maximum range for repeated accuracy. Practice against moving targets is ideal in a stress-free condition. Once that range is fixed, divide it by half. This will be your effective kill zone during an actual attack. Make sure the undead do not move closer than this zone, as your accuracy will erode. If engaging a group, make sure to hit those that enter the zone first before dispatching the others. Don't discount this advice no matter what your previous experience has been. Street-hardened police officers, decorated combat veterans, even cold-blooded murderers have ended up as well-chewed meals because they believed in their nerves and not their training. Training saves lives. If there's no questions, this concludes today's lesson. All right, so go out there and kick butt. And hopefully there was something that was said that was entertaining and maybe you didn't know before. How about that? If not, homeboy tried. Since 2014, I have been a member of the Crossbreed Holster family. If you carry concealed, get a holster that supports not only your firearm, but your freedom, the faith, and this brother with a try-it-free lifetime guarantee. CrossbreedHolsters.com. CrossbreedHolsters.com. They have tried to divide us, but you are held strong. You have neighbors and family that don't know how cool you are, but I do. Help me and support this podcast. Help me be the goodwill ambassador for our side. Nobody likes to start over. Together, we can do this thing. Go to patreon.com/blackmanwithagun. Did you get it? Patreon.com/blackmanwithagun.
Remain calm and wait for further instructions from authorities.
Hello? Hello? Is anyone out there? We're survivors held up in a warehouse. The zombies have overrun the city. Supplies are running short. Is anyone out there? Please, we need help.
All right, so that's it for my shenanigans. I'm hoping that you had a good time, and I'm thankful that you're still with me, even though that was a little off. But so am I. Just in case nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Until next time, be safe out there. Shalom, baby.